Hello. Welcome back to the library. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most highly anticipated indie horror novels coming out this year. Today, we're talking about Mean-Spirited by Nick Roberts. This book, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to front load this review by saying this book scared the crap out of me. I don't scare, okay? Books don't scare me to the point that I have to put them down, right? They'll give, like, I'll get fear responses, like, adrenaline boost, but usually it's like in a good way. Like, I'll get excited by it, like, oh, that gave me chills, or oh, that was creepy, and it'll make me happy because I got something from that. But it won't make me stop. It'll make me want to keep reading the book because I liked that. It's like a jolt of adrenaline, like a little caffeine boost. Mean-Spirited. I had to stop reading. I had to put it down and walk away more than once. Eventually, I had to stop. I had to actually start reading this book with baking shows on in the background because I would have to stop reading and focus on the baking because it was too scary. Nick Roberts knows how to scare you. He knows how to describe it exactly to get under your skin. Okay? I don't know how he does it, but he does it. But anyway, first of all, let me tell you, this book, Mean-Spirited, this is the story of Matt Matheny, who is an English teacher. He's a high school English teacher. He's also an alcoholic. Okay? We know this from the beginning. He's a functioning alcoholic. And one day, he finds out that a former student of his has passed away. And he remembers this student. So he feels bad that she passed away. So he goes into his old files and he finds this like report or story or something. I can't remember what exactly it was. He finds something that she wrote. And he frames it. And he takes it to her house. And he leaves it like on the porch, kind of as a memorial. And while he's there at the house, this dog runs up to him. And he realizes when he looks at the dog's collar, that this is the dog of the student that died. It's got the address of the house. And it's got the dog's name. And the dog's name is Conehead. Coney. And so he decides that he's going to take the dog with him because the dog looks pretty worse for wear. It's been a couple of days since, the student passed away. So this dog has just been out here free roaming. Matt's ex-wife is a vet. And he also knows that his son, Mikey, would love to have this dog. And, bonus points if he has a dog at his house. Right? Am I right? Bonus points if dad's got a dog. Co-parenting. So he takes the dog to his ex-wife's veterinary clinic and to get him checked out. Right? Get to make sure he's okay. And from here on out, things start to happen. Because Coney, is not alone. there's something attached to Conehead. Something evil. And I do mean evil. And in order to fight this evil, Matt has to confront his own demons, his own problems, to save himself and his son and his ex-wife, and to, solve this problem and to basically save all of them and get out of this jam. This book is incredibly well written, first of all. There's no fat on it at all. It's very lean. It reads very quickly. Everything that happens has a purpose. There's no gratuitous scenes. There's no gratuitous world building. There's no gratuitous plots or side characters. Everything all pulls together. It all has a point. The characters are real people. They're flawed. They have good points and bad points. You like them or you dislike them based on who they based on them being real people, not because you're being led to like them or dislike them. Matt, I liked Matt despite the fact that he's flawed. I liked him despite the fact that, he's an alcoholic and he's denying it for half the book, and he's refusing to acknowledge that a lot of his problems are all his fault in some ways. I liked him. I wanted him to succeed. I wanted him to get better. The dog, Conehead, is a whole character. He creates this whole personality of an actual lab. Everything that this dog does is 100% lab. And it is very much he gives the dog distinct personalities when the evil is present and when it's just Conehead. And it is so well written. And the scenes of terror, okay? My goodness. The scenes of terror are so detailed. And they're so spot on that you can see them in your head and they get to you. Even if it's something that you wouldn't be afraid of, you're afraid of it now. Just gonna say, not really a spoiler, but everyone who has read this book has an unhealthy fear of stuffed pandas. Be warned. And we're okay with it. Here's the thing. The thing about this book that really, really amazed me, right? The thing that really surprised me is that he uses the same imagery more than once. It's the same thing that happens. And a lot of times in horror novels, if it's the same thing that's happening, if there's a monster and it's attacking, the first and second time maybe that you see it, it might scare you, but then you'll get used to it and it won't be as effective throughout the rest of the book. Not here. He writes each scene where something similar happens in a slightly different way each time, so that each time it is just as effective as the first time. So it is just as terrifying as the first time. The story, the plot is, some people might say the plot is basic. It's at its core, it's a possession story. Only the dog is possessed, right? But it's not about the overall plot. It's the detail. It's the little things. It's the way that it's written That's what makes it unique. That's what makes this book so good and so effective. And what makes it stand out. This is by far the best book that Nick Roberts has written so far. Listen. I read The Exorcist House in 2023, his last book. And it was one of my 2 favorite books of that year. It was my favorite book of 2023 up until December when I read Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian. And then I was like, okay, this is also one of my favorite books of this year, but because they're very different books. Like, one's a Western horror, so I can't really say that it beats The Exorcist House, because it's so different. So, like, they both got to be my 2 favorite books from last year. So, yeah, The Exorcist House, my favorite book from last year. And I read, like, 7 books from the Wheel of Time series last year. I read the first one in the end of 2022. So to say that this one, Mean-Spirited, is better than The Exorcist House is saying something. And this is not just better, it is like leagues better. Like, I don't even know how, like, you can grow this much as an author in that short of time, but he did it. I don't even know. Has anybody seen Nick Roberts at, like, a Crossroads recently? Asking for a friend. So yeah, plot. If you're going to be one of those nitpickers who's like, it's just a basic plot, then yeah, you might be like not impressed by it. But if you're somebody who likes quality over like quantity, you're going to love this. It's going to scare you if you get scared by supernatural stuff, point blank. This is like a 5 out of 5. This is like a 6 out of 5. Like, you know how like in Spinal Tap it like goes up to 11 out of 10? This is like a 6 out of 5. I highly recommend this book to anybody who reads horror. It is just fantastic. Like, I kept stopping reading this book while I was reading it. I drew it out for like 3 weeks, I think, because I both wanted to see what was going to happen, but I also didn't want to finish it. And the one thing that worried me the whole time was whether he was going to stick the landing. And he stuck the landing. He sticks the landing, guys. He sticks the landing. The ending is amazing. It's perfect. It is 100% the best. It was the best. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better ending for this book. This book drops on March 15th, 2024. Beware the Ides of March, y'all. But go buy this book. You can also go pre-order it now, so you don't have to wait until March 15th. You can pre-order it on the Amazon. If you order like a physical copy, if you order it now, it'll be at your house on the day of. Or you can just order it digitally and it'll like download on the day. Whichever you prefer. Me personally, I'm waiting until I can buy a physical copy on the website and get it like personally signed and, you know, notarized, like autographed and personalized to me. Get on the mean-spirited train. Anyway, I will talk to you later. Remember to read what you love, and we will talk to you later. Bye. Okay, I'm back. I realized when I was editing this video that I had more to say about this book. And I didn't have anywhere really to put it in the video, so I decided to put it at the end. Because even though what I'm going to talk about isn't spoilers. I'm still not going to spoil it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the characters and how I felt about some of the characters and like the interpersonal relationships. And some people might not want to hear that. They might want to go completely blind into this. So if you don't want to hear some things about like characters and certain situations, then you can go ahead and not watch this. First of all, I wanted to talk about how Nick Roberts portrays Matt and his alcoholism. I loved the way that Matt's alcoholism is portrayed in this book, because it is described that the way that Matt becomes an alcoholic is he just started, drinking in college, and he liked the way that it made him feel. And so he kept drinking. And I have to say, that was so refreshing for me, because so often in books that portray like any kind of like addictions or alcoholism, there's always some sort of traumatic backstory, always something that happened right in the past that caused the downfall, and it's why they have this crutch. But here it's just a guy who likes the way that alcohol makes him feel, and so he drinks, and then he keeps drinking, and it snowballs, causes the inevitable like decline of his relationship with his wife. This is so accurate to so many real life stories of alcoholism. It's not always some, dramatic, tragic story that leads to it. It's oftentimes just you fall into it. Second of all, I loved the way that Mikey, the kid, is portrayed in this book. Normally, for me, I hate kids in books. They're usually written really badly. Like, they don't speak like kids. They don't act like kids. They act like adults playing kids. Here, Mikey acts like a kid. He responds to situations like a kid. He thinks like a kid. And that was fantastic. Just got to put that out there. Kudos for that. Loved that. Spot on. And then finally, the characters in this book, like I said before, they're all very real people, right? And they have real emotions and they have real thoughts. And you either like them or you dislike them based on those people, like the way that they're described. Like Matt, I loved Matt. Matt had a lot of the same thoughts that I have. Like, he thinks negative thoughts about things and situations. And I'm like, I feel you, Matt. I feel what I would be thinking the exact same thing. But then he'll check himself and be like, I shouldn't think that way. Like, I shouldn't be that way. Like, he really dislikes his ex-wife's boyfriend, Lewis, right? He doesn't like him because it's his ex-wife who he's still in love with. It's her new boyfriend, and he doesn't like this. He doesn't like that she has a new boyfriend. So he just automatically just doesn't like Lewis because he's the new boyfriend, right? And he wants to portray him in a negative light. Just everything he does. He's just he sees him in this negative way. But the way that it's written, we see that Lewis is a good guy, and he's trying so hard to just be friends with Matt. He's trying to be friends with the ex because they're co-parenting, and Lewis just wants to get along. I loved Lewis. Bless his heart. He was trying so hard. He was being so supportive here. He was being supportive of Mikey. He was trying to be friendly with Matt. He was being there as best he could, even though Matt was just taking a dump on him at every turn. Honestly, that's how it was. You would form your opinions. I liked Lewis. Other people might not feel that same way. I liked Matt. Other people I know didn't like Matt the way that I did. And, honestly, I didn't like Lucy. She was like, she's a basic white girl. You know, she like drinks wine. She's a white girl. She's a mom. Just, I didn't like her. I'm like, this is somebody I would not be friends with. Like, I cared about her in the context of the story, but I didn't like her as a person. There are other people in this story, like minor characters, that you should dislike, but he writes in such a way that you actually have sympathy for, despite everything. Like, you do have sympathy for them. This book starts out the way that all of Nick Roberts' books start out. And that is with a prologue that sets up the book. It's like a television drama, right? You get that pre-credits snapshot of what's going to happen. And then you get like the title card. And then the rest of the book, or like the rest of the show, plays out. And Nick Roberts does this. He does this in all his books. But it's so brilliant. And it works so well. And some authors are not, they don't understand, like, I don't know, like some books that I've read where they have a prologue, I don't think the authors understood the concept of a prologue. And the prologue is just kind of confusing. Or it doesn't really do what it's supposed to. And you're just like, what? They basically just use it as a first chapter. And you're like, I don't know why that was a prologue. Nick Roberts, no, he uses prologues exactly like he's supposed to. Like what they're supposed to be for. So, there's that. Okay. I think that's it. I think that's all I want to talk about. So, I am really officially going to wrap this up now. But once again, go read this book.